Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlene. Thanks for wandering by. Today I'm super duper late to the party, but I finally had time to do the VR to Meg at Rose Honey Ritual and Thea at Garden Goddess Tarot, the only 10 mass market decks. So this video is the hashtag only 10 mass market decks. I am going to do, you heard me, I'm going to do the only 10 indie decks as well, and then maybe something else after that. So this tag was created in the style of the only 10 that was the original by Katie Flowers that was done, I want to say like a couple years ago now. But anyway, so Meg and Thea, the only caveat that they had to this tag is that these 10, like we're going to assume the OGs already from the three major systems. So no original Rider-Waite-Smith, you know, it's already assumed that that's in the top 10, as well as the Thoth and Tarot de Marseille. I don't have an OG Tarot de Marseille, so that one doesn't matter. But of course, the Centennial Waite-Smith and the Thoth would like appear in probably every single top 10, maybe every single top 10 type of category for me. Oh my goodness, my light just completely went away. I'm hoping that the sun returns. We'll see. All right. So yeah, so this is the VR, the hashtag only 10 mass market decks. So I'm doing all this preamble. I like to build the suspense, but the reason why is because like this one was this was a little bit more difficult for me to kind of decide on and to figure out, because I think I have more indie than mass market, or no, that can't be true. And then, oh, I didn't do Oracle at all. This is purely tarot, 10 tarot decks. And I had like, I don't know, I was like starting to give myself too many like caveats of my own. Like it has to be something that I've worked with a whole lot, and it can't be like super new to my collection. And then I just kind of decided to throw those ideas out the window and just go with really like the 10 decks that at this moment are really, are the 10 highest on my list of my mass market decks that kind of each fall into these particular categories that I would highly recommend to you all out there. And maybe a couple of them are ones that you may have not seen before, or may have not seen talked about a lot on the tarot tubes. So anyway, let me stop preambling and I will just get to it. Away we go. Okay, so here we go. Number one, or well, I shouldn't count because these are in maybe no particular order except for maybe the last three that are like the biggies for me. But this is the Guardian Angel Messages Tarot by Radley Valentine. This is, of course, a mass market deck. Here are the backs. I edged mine in all these different multicolors because the borders on the front are multicolored. This, I surprised myself when I grabbed this deck, but also not, because this is the type of deck it is. Look, I'm just gonna say it. Like, the artwork is a little bit like much, like it's a little bit cheesy. It's a little bit too on the nose, and it's like it's angels, but it's also like regular people. And this is like one of those decks that's just so bizarre. Not bizarre. It's bizarre that like I like it. It's different than anything else that I have. I actually really enjoy the keywords. I think the thing about this deck is that it feels very much like everyday life. Like, look at this, you know? I've been there. I've been there. I haven't been there, but you know what I mean? Like, I just really appreciate the simplicity of this deck. It's the type of deck that I don't like. This is an off the record deck, which I think I'm making up this phrase for decks and readings that I don't put in my journal, that I don't record. Because it's just one of those that I grab and I throw down cards. Sometimes they're spread positions, sometimes it's just freestyle. And often this is like a early morning thing or before bed. And it just does the trick. It just gives me the message, and I can process it, take it in, and move on, or get to sleep, or start my day, or whatever it may be. Yeah, I always really enjoy these keywords as well. And I just think it's just a good deck. It's a good one. So it made it to my top 10 mass market decks. The Guardian Angel Messages Tarot by Radley Valentine. Next up is the Scorpio Sea Tarot by Maggie Stiefwater, and then the guidebook was written by Melissa Sonova, and she's amazing. Kitchen Table Tarot, I think, is her book that she's most known for. I believe that's it, Kitchen Table Tarot. Anyway, the Scorpio Sea Tarot, you guys. So this is a deck will probably always include in one of these top 10 things as well. But these are the backs. I edged mine in blue Sharpie. It's not still coming off, but this is one of my older decks. I've had it for a while. The Scorpio Sea Tarot, my gosh. This is one of the first decks I got in my tarot journey. Oh, I know. See, you can see where it bled over. And I don't mind. The Sun card. My goodness, I love it that the outline of the person is missing. I love this Lovers card. I've talked about this deck a lot in my earlier videos, and it's one of the decks, like, I think right off the bat, I started getting decks that like really veered away from your traditional Waite Smith imagery. And I feel like that was a really good practice for me, and something that taught me tarot. I don't know if that will work for everyone, but it definitely worked for me because it allowed me to see outside of just the, Pamela Coleman Smith art, to see the vision of the particular card and kind of make up my own keywords, or not make up my own, kind of come up with my own keywords or key phrases or connections to that particular archetype. And this, so this deck with its this seaside village, people and fantastical creatures. Look at this Nine of Cups. Like, if there's a cow like this in any deck, I just absolutely love it. I've seen this cow represented as the Empress in a few animal decks as well. Love it so much. But I don't know, like, it makes me think of Peter Pan in, Peter Pan in some senses. It makes me think of, this makes me think of like the northeast coast of the United States, like in the, I don't know what time period. I'm terrible about that stuff, but like not Peter Pan, Pete's Dragon. That's what I was talking about. The live action Disney movie from like the 80s. Is it the 80s, 70s, or 80s? Of Pete's Dragon. The one with Helen Reddy. Like, I've talked about this before, because Helen Reddy sings the "I'll Be Your Candle on the Water," and there's a lighthouse in here that makes me think of it. It's just like there's a narrative here in the tarot that is so, it's very much outside the box, and like that's my jam. I definitely like look at this death card. And in the guidebook discusses like different rituals and things. But I did spend some time in the guidebook. I don't remember it at all because I haven't used it in a long time. Look at this unicorn for the Ace of Swords. Like, I love all of these animals. I love all of these people that I've gotten to know. The Scorpio Sea Tarot, yeah, like there's a whole thing about this particular garment. I can't remember off the top of my head. This one-man band, like this is, I love it. I love the artwork. And I have not read the Scorpio Sea Races, which is what this is loosely based on, which is a Maggie Stiefvater novel. But anyway, oh, see there, I love these cards so much. The Moon, the Hermit. Those are probably my two favorites. The Moon and the Hermit from this deck. What was I saying? I haven't read that Maggie Stiefvater novel, but I don't think you need to. I mean, I know you don't need to in order to work with this deck. Some of the characters reappear. I just absolutely love it. Look at this goat as the devil. It's one of my favorite decks. It might not be for everybody. It's really different, but I guess that's kind of why I like it. So that is the Scorpio Sea Tarot by Maggie Stiefvater. Okay, next up is the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. The Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. So this is a new deck to my collection. This was an indie deck that is now mass market. It is a little bit pricier than most mass market decks because I believe it's over $40, 40 US dollars. It has the soft gilding, it's linen finish. I can't not talk about the production quality of this deck because the shuffle on this, like aside from the Llewellyns, which the Scorpio Sea Tarot is, like this, the shuffle, I guess I'll just shuffle it because it's just fantastic. I mean, it's fantastic. This one is it probably took over, it might have taken over the Anima Mundi, which is an indie deck, which is not on this list. Yeah, the shuffleability of this deck, the sound, oh, so good. This has got to be in this top 10 mass market decks for me because since I got this deck, I have not wanted to stop using it. And I have begun to use it for a very specific type of reading. And it's a reading that is in the guidebook, which like also, by the way, you guys, you get a really nice size guidebook, hardcover. The guidebook is hardcover and it has a really great relationship spread, which you can do like, which I've done for myself and my partner, but you can also do for anyone, I mean, for yourself and any interpersonal relationship that you would like. This deck it's very, it really works for me in terms of talking about interpersonal relationships. It is certainly Rider-Waite-Smith inspired, but it's this mix of this like modern sensibility with this very timeless, ageless, across cultures, across, across the ages, except it has a very modern sensibility to it. I really love it. It feels like, it definitely wants to speak to me about, personal, interpersonal relationships. The artwork is stunning. This has my favorite moon card ever, I think. Maybe we'll get to it. It's just one of those decks that like it has to be a standout for my top 10 lists. It's beautiful. I love the muted color palette, the different colors for the particular suits. I'm not married to any necessarily color anymore for the suit. Like, yes, I guess I would prefer swords be gray or yellow, but I like in a spread when you just can see, oh, there's the moon card. When you can see, like just by eyeballing that you have, you know, a certain amount of swords, and, you know, like if there's all one colorway, then you know it's heavy in coins or whatever it may be. I love that world card. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, this is well worth it to me. The 40, I think it was like $45 or $46. So yeah, the it's just one of my top 10, the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. Okay, next on my top 10 mass market decks is the Morgan Greer Tarot. Now, don't be, I'm not trying to be misleading here. The Morgan Greer Tarot, this particular box and printing is the vintage version from the 70s. I believe 79. Yeah, because I got it because it's my birth year. But anyway, this deck though is mass market. So if you search Morgan Greer, as many of you I'm sure are familiar with this deck, there's a new printing in the standard tarot size, and there's also a Morgan Greer Tarot in a tin, which I also own. So the Morgan Greer Tarot, I mean, I include this probably one of the most often, inclusions, like one of the most, the deck you might see the most, one of the decks you might see the most on my channel, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but it's because it is probably my favorite Waite Smith clone, and one of the decks I've used the most in my tarot life, my tarot lifetime, my tarot practice. I love the close-up portraits of these people. I know them. I feel connected to them. This is a deck that I love this Nine of Pentacles so much. This is a deck I feel like so, it's such an easy reader. It wants to talk to people. So this is the deck that I most often grab to read for others, friends and family. I have used it to read for friends of friends as well. But, you know, I mean, mostly I read for myself, but if I'm going to read for other people, look at this Two of Cups. I love it so much. If I'm going to read for others, this is very likely the deck that I will use. I just love it so much. I don't know, like I feel so connected to it. It just feels, it's just easy and beautiful. That's what I can say about Morgan Greer. It's tried and true. I love this Queen of Swords. This is the cover art on the box of the mass market printing that you can find. Okay, sorry, I got interrupted, so I don't remember the last thing that I was saying about the Morgan Greer, except that I absolutely love this deck, and I feel connected to the people, and I love this Hermit card. It's just, I think I was saying it's tried and true. That's one of the things I like to say about it because, I love this Three of Cups, probably one of my favorites. Yeah, one of my favorite Three of Cups. Yeah, so it's definitely on my top 10 for sure, without a doubt, the Morgan Greer Tarot. Okay, so next up is the Tarot of the Magical Forest. I have you know, a few, like a couple of animal decks that are mass market. And I had to include an animal deck because animal decks are some of my favorites. And animal spirit and animal energy is something that I've grown to really love to work with over the last probably a year now. It's been about a year that I've really gotten into animal energy and felt comfortable saying that I work with it. But the Tarot of the Magical Forest, I mean, it's an animal deck, but it's also this like hilarious, you know, I featured it in my Good Mood decks. It's a Los Scarabeo, so it came with the borders that has all the different languages, the translations. So I chopped mine down to just the artwork, and I don't know if you can even tell, I edged it in like a light baby blue that matches the backs. So, oh my gosh, I love this strength card so much. How sweet is that, right? But the rest, I can't stop laughing every time I like show off this deck. This deck it's hilarious. It makes me laugh. I freaking love these big-eyed animals. It's a Waite Smith clone, so it's super easy. Like once I chopped off the borders, I have no trouble recognizing, you know, which card is which. These frightened little animals crack me up. They're little friends. This deck wants to be outside. And it's definitely a like summer deck for me. It likes to be outside in the porch. It likes to be out in the summer. It's one of those like good time, like if we're hanging out at the pool or we are, you know, sitting outside in the porch, just, you know, shooting the shit and talking, and this is the deck for those kinds of times. It's an uplifting deck for me too, so oh my god, like I can't, with the animals writing on animals, like the all the knights are like out of control. Like it's hilarious. It's a good mood deck. I don't know how much this deck gets shown off. Yeah, and the paws coming out of the sky holding the tarot tool, whatever it is, you know, in the aces, is like, these are my absolute favorite cards. This would have been in my comical cards if I had done that VR Julie to Julie, I mean. This is one of my favorites, and so it falls in the animal deck category. That is the Tarot of the Magical Forest. Okay, this is the Sun and Moon Tarot, and this is US Games, but I mean, I don't know if I've been mentioning publishers along the way or not. Sorry about my lighting situation. The weather's like, it keeps threatening to rain and then drizzles and then the sun comes out again, and it's just like, it's the way things are in my area. So these are the backs of the Sun and Moon Tarot. I had to, even though we assumed the Thoth is one of our top 10, I had to include a mass market Thoth inspired deck, and this is my favorite. This is like Thoth light, friendly Thoth. Characters, these characters are like sweet. It has the Thoth titles, and it has definitely a nod to the Thoth imagery. Some of them though skew their own way, and some of them skew a little bit Waite Smith as well. Like this magician is doing his own thing for sure. But like, I just love these little characters. They feel like, you know, friends from the 90s. They're like totally dressed like, I don't know, they look like 90s style outfits to me. See, like this Death card is certainly its own type of thing. The Two of Swords, this leans much more towards Wade Smith, but it has the Thoth title. Anyway, I'm not gonna like break it down card by card. I'm just gonna like flip through and show you why I love it so much. This is a sweet deck. Like when the Thoth OG is too like intense, this deck really like softens the message. Oh my goodness, I keep having interruptions. It is, I don't remember where I left off talking about the Sun and Moon Tarot now. It's school's out already, so my kiddo's home and my partner's home as well. It's his day off anyway, and I probably should have waited to film, or I usually film in the morning when everybody's sleeping, but everybody woke up. So anyway, the Sun and Moon Tarot, it's the Thoth inspired, you know, like I was saying, it has like Wade Smith kind of imagery sometimes, and also Thoth imagery, and then, but it definitely has the Thoth key word or title, I should say, up top. Oh, I know what I was saying. It's more palatable. Like when Thoth is too intense and too kind of like, I mean, mean, I gotta say. Sometimes Thoth is mean. Or sometimes Thoth is just like a little bit too like spiritual and otherworldly and very heady. This is a little bit more grounded and, you know, realistic and I mean, it's still dreamy in a way, but it's more like, feels more practical, feels more tied to earth and day-to-day life than sometimes the Thoth OG itself. But it's one of my favorites. I definitely like to use this in the summer as well, but I've used it all year round. I adore this deck, and I think it is one of the best mass market decks out there. So the Sun and Moon Tarot. Okay, and this is the Surrealist Tarot. I know this deck I've shown off before in some of my top 10s and tags or VRs. I love the Surrealist Tarot. This is another one of these Lo Scarabeo decks. I absolutely love this deck. I think, here are the backs, I haven't edged mine. I think this is a perfect example of like my tendency with tarot to want to go wildly away from any traditional interpretation of the tarot. And I dig that. Sometimes I like to have like a super close, you know, like with the Morgan Greer, or the Tarot of the Magical Forest, I like to go to a deck that's, you know, a clone, a Wade Smith clone. I love the OG, I love the original scenes. But then sometimes I think I really just want to go so far away from it that it's completely outside of the box. And what better way to do that than with surrealistic art? These are by the way, I think I was spending some time when I was doing this, when I was getting these decks ready to do this video, I was spending some time reading through the Little White Book, and I hadn't done that before. There's an amazing spread in here, and there are like the little blurbs really for each of the cards is quite amazing, with quotes from major players in the surrealist movement, poets and artists, and I was just like blown away. I started falling down like a surrealist art and poetry rabbit hole last night as I was like making my list and grabbing decks. I really want to spend more time with this deck. I want to spend more time with surreal. Oh my gosh, sorry, the dog started barking. Am I ever gonna make it through this video without more interruption? We shall see. Anyway, it really kind of sparked my interest again. I mean, surrealistic art is probably my favorite. Anyway, let me show you the deck. Oh, I have these two on top because I wanted to show you that I noticed this probably like the first couple of times that I ever even flipped through this deck, that here's the moon, and then this Four of Cups is like the flip side of that image. Like you can see from the other vantage point, and I just thought that was so cool. Anyway, this deck is based on surrealistic art and the surrealist and Dada movement from the 20s and 30s, 1920s and 30s. So you've got, like, you can see, you know, Dali, there's nods to Frida Kahlo, well, the poets I was reading about, well, Antonin Artaud, Andre Breton, I can't remember all the names, because I'm not like super familiar with all of that particular movement, but I want to be like Dali I know, and Frida Kahlo, and Antonin Artaud I know of because he was one of Anais Nin's lovers. That's how I know him, from that particular connection. Anais Nin is a writer that I was obsessed with in my early 20s for sure. So this deck, let me talk about the deck. How about that instead of just the Surrealist? And this is based on this, and the cover art, this is based on a painting by René Magritte, I want to say. René Magritte. So yeah, very much French and Spanish, I think, artists involved in the Surrealist movement. So what the heck was I saying about the deck? Have I even said anything yet? It's just so off the wall. Like, I also love in the guidebook how they say, there's like a little note about how to read this deck, and basically it's like, well, because this is a Surrealist deck, like, you do whatever the heck you want with it. This is my I'm paraphrasing, of course, but like, look at this Five of Wands. This is you can't mess around with this deck. Like, I guess you could, but like, I can't. Like, when I pull this out, like, I need to only pull a couple cards at a time, and I need to spend time in the card, because just one card at a time, it takes you've gotta like dive in there and take a look at the illusion. Surrealism is about, the dreamscape, the unconscious. And I really love that. I love everything about it. I love spending time in this artwork. I love the idea of being able to kind of dive into and read and look at more surrealistic art, because I only have like a surface level understanding of that whole movement. There are other literary and artistic movements that I've delved into a little bit more. Sorry if you hear my dog eating. I'm not going to stop this video again. I cannot. But these bowler hats, that's a very René Magritte, very typical of his artwork, where, the melty clocks, melted landscape type of thing, that's more Dali, of course. And Frida Kahlo, she pops up in here as well. There's other things, but I want to become more acquainted with the various artists and the particular paintings that these are nodding back to. Like, there's Dadaism. I want to study it. Aside from how I already have been kind of working with this deck. So I just love it. Like, it's a fantastic little deck. Like, it's so full of things to get into on the tarot level and beyond. So that is the Surrealist Tarot. Okay, so now we're in my top 3, and these are definitely my top 3 mass market decks. Sorry about the doggy noises. So you won't be surprised to see the Klimt Tarot in this list because if you've watched my last like 3 or 4 videos, it has been featured in every single one. This is the Klimt Tarot based on the artwork of Gustav Klimt. I'm obsessed. I keep saying the same thing. I edged mine in black and, oh, here's the Empress. Love her. I am having such a love affair with this deck. I love everything about the black and the gold. Blingy, can you see the blingy? But it's not just about that. Like this artwork, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. The Lover's card is the Kiss, a Gustav Klimt famous painting that pretty much everybody knows. I have a special connection to this even more so now, but I'll show you that in another video. Coming up, stay tuned. And I just, like, the artwork is captivating and beautiful. Oh, sorry, everything is like every which way. But not only that, like it is haunting. There's like, in terms of using it for readings, it's really reflective. So in very kind of like psychological, you know, we have I guess also a type of surrealism, although I'm not sure how we categorize Gustav Klimt's artwork. Somewhat surrealistic, I guess. It feels like dreamscapes too. It feels like illusions and dreamscapes, although these people, even though they're kind of like elongated, emaciated in places, they feel very real. I'm so sorry that everything is backwards and upside down. It's been a joy to read with this deck, and it's been very personal and very emotionally evocative. It's just been like a range of emotions and a range of experience. So like sometimes it's easy, it's an easy read. Sometimes I need to dive deeper. You know, sometimes it makes no sense at all to me and I have to just really go, like it doesn't make sense to me in like a traditional way, so I just like kind of let that go and read simply intuitively. So this is very intuitive. I just love this deck. I'm really in love with it. It's reveals, you know, more and more layers as we go. Like I'm just having a time. I'm having a time with the Klimt Tarot. And if any of you want me to do a deep dive on this deck or any of these others that I'm showing, please let me know. I'm happy to do so because these are obviously my favorite. The Klimt Tarot, one of my top 10 mass market decks. Okay, this is it. We reached the last deck on my list and I feel like this should be like fanfare. This is my favorite, one of my favorite decks of all time. It's up there with like my top 5 decks of all my decks. Maybe in the number like two or three category of all of my decks, and this is the Margaret Peterson Tarot. Now I have 2 different mass market editions of this deck. I have this version that has these wine colored, purple colored borders, and I also have the gray. I've considered getting another version of it so that I can take the borders off and see how I feel about it borderless. This is the only one that I'm like unboxing in front of you because I cannot talk about this deck without talking about the guidebook. This little guidebook is like one of the most powerful guidebooks I own. And I think that if you are not reading it and using it in conjunction with this tarot, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's just my, you know, my little spiel. But especially her poetry for each of the majors, she has this whole section about the elements. First of all, the 4 elements and the numbers. I rewrote this just recently in my journal. If you saw my month gone by video, This is my favorite interpretation of the numbers. Absolutely my favorite. And then the write-ups on on the minors is sublime. I love a deck that that changes the minors, renames them by the element. That's my favorite way for the minors to be renamed. And also my favorite way to see the court cards interpreted is with family names. So mother, father, daughter, son, and this deck does that as well. It just, that way of looking at the minors and that way of looking at the court cards is my favorite way to read them. So I edged mine in a wine purple color that like really matched pretty perfectly, you guys. This deck is, these are abstract paintings. So talking about, again, oh, here are the backs. Did I show you these backs? Talk about another deck that really goes its very own way in like surrealistic art is very different for me than abstract art, because while there's illusion and dreamscape in the surrealistic art, you can see the details, like an egg, it's an egg. You can see the egg, you can see the hat, you can see whatever. This is very cloudy, it's dreamy in a different way. And the minors are much less like detailed than the majors. In the majors, you can make out that like Waite Smith kind of influence in the majors, and you really are just spending time with the shapes and the colors and like kind of what pops out, in the minors. It's really about that over the color and like the very the certain things that will pop out to you that stand out. See, like you see how different, a little bit more detailed or clear, I should say clear is the word, that the majors are. But it doesn't matter. Like I just, see, here's another, this is the Empress card. This is just the type of deck that like I need when it's an identity deck for me. Like this is a deck that I correlate to my own personal identity, the way that I like see myself and my worldview and my value system, and the way that I don't know, the way that I engage with people and the world around me. Like I feel is that story of my humanity is in this deck. Does that make sense to you guys? That's why I love it so much, and it's one of my favorite decks. See how much clearer the painting is here. Well, the sun's kind of like, all over. But there's our Fool card. Like I don't use this deck all the time, even though it is one of my favorites, because it's a little bit much sometimes to be confronted with yourself and all of your feelings about humanity and the world and the universe all the time. So it's not an everyday deck, but it is certainly like just one of my absolute favorites. I could sit here and I love this Hierophant card so much. Like, look at the hand. Can you see it? The hand out. Like, this is how I convinced Dawn Michelle to get this deck. I showed her this card. Anyway, this is, just absolutely one of my favorites. I could talk about it all day long. Look at this Nine of Cups with the pearl and the oyster. That's what I see there. Now look at these colors. I don't know. It's not for everyone. But it's for me. This deck is not for everyone, but it definitely is for me. You see this in the Four of Feathers, the feather, and then this like person, figure underneath a mountainscape. Like there you see that kind of bubble in there as well. I just really like to think abstractly and in this kind of way. I do. I like to think very abstractly and figuratively and metaphorically. It's my jam. It's absolutely my jam. So that's it. That is the last of my favorites, my top 10 mass market decks. That was the Margaret Peterson Tarot. Okay, so that's it. That is my top 10 mass market decks. Thank you so much to Meg and Thea for creating this tag. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to it, but it was super fun to do. Look out for my top 10 indie decks. That'll be coming out. And also another kind of top 10, you'll see. Surprise. It'll be a surprise. Okay, thank you so much for sticking with me through this video and all of my interruptions. I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye.